This is going to be an instructional video on how to install Microflex abalone shell veneer. The abalone shell veneer, the Microflex type that I get, for example, from Mudhole, is very easy to use. The application type that we're going to be doing is the heat application type, which basically is even posted, for example, on Mudhole's website how to do it. But they do it a little bit different. They use a different heat gun, for example. And I believe that it's easier to apply this way with minimal to no cracking, depending on the blank diameters. The thinner the blank gets, the more prone to a crack the material is. The material comes in two different sizes. You get it in single size and double size. The advantage of the Microflex versus the older crack and roll what they had, it's thinner, and it Microflex, as it says, it has more flex to it. This is only a piece that I'm using for demonstration purposes. This piece already has a crack in it, so we're going to try to apply this even though the piece has a crack on it, and see the result that we get from it. On this piece, you can see I already straightened out the corners. What I like to do, and this is the introduction first, is the materials that you need, the materials that I use. And this is merely just a suggestion. I mean, there are tons of ways people do it, and I'm just showing basically the way I do it and the way it works for me. What I do is I straighten out these corners, and for doing that, the material that the machine that I use is an X-Acto cutting board. I have a razor blade that I topped off with some masking tape, not to cut myself, burnishing, very simple burnishing tool, or actually this is from clay, for working with clay. I have a China marker. I have a needle point for marking the blank. I have a ruler, or you can take a gauge. In this case, I'm taking the gauge. Masking tape, or painter's tape in this case. And the heat tool. Now, the heat tool is a heat tool that's used actually in jewelry and crafts. It is a heat embossing tool. It develops about 680 degrees Fahrenheit, which in that case doesn't cook the Microflex. It doesn't burn it, but it does make it, heats it nicely through. So the more basically heated it is, and it bends easier and it applies easier, cracks less. The advantage of this tool is versus other heat guns. Other heat guns you have to hold in your hand, basically like similar to a pistol, and they usually have like 2 or 3 settings, or the better ones they have, okay, good, they do have maybe you know, a dial where you can dial individual temperatures. However, this one comes with one setting, on off, 680 degrees Fahrenheit. The advantage of it, I can use it like a pen, meaning I can take my abalone shell veneer, the Microflex, I can apply it on the blank, I can heat and apply the heat to the Microflex more evenly with this gun, in terms of that I can apply it, I can switch it over, press with my hands, with my thumbs, press the veneer around the blank, and right away apply heat again, next roll, and so forth. So I have a steady flow of heat on the Microflex, or quicker than I do have, and it's just easier to work with than I have with a regular heat gun that I have to take out of my hand. I gotta put it down, I gotta pick it up again, I gotta put it down. This way I have it in my hand and I can work with it, I can switch it around like a pen, and I got my thumb free to roll around the blank. Okay, again, I've cut this to 90-degree angles. First side on, a little small cut, the other side, so I have 90 degrees, makes it easier to fall around the blank. You can see here, that's the side that we cut, and we're going to apply it this way on, and you're going to see, very simple to apply. And the application, next step. Now, the second step in applying the Microflex abalone shell veneer is to basically, with masking tape or painter's tape, in this case I'm using painter's tape, to measure the circumference of your left and right side of the ends where the veneer will be placed on the blank. So in this case I have a scrap blank that I'm using for test purposes here, and what I do is I put it on the lathe, I put the belt on so I have some resistance, but not like that is too loose. I just then very easily just go and I start placing masking tape once around the blank. So this is my starting point, and when you basically take the measure the way I like to do it, I like to take my measurements from the 180 degree. So obviously when you wrap it around the blank so that when it comes together that the seam is on the bottom side or on the opposite side of the, let's say, show side of the rod, so basically on the bottom side. So in this case, in order to get my length, we have already pre-cut the abalone, the Microflex abalone shell veneer to the 90 degree angles, as we already mentioned before. And in order to get my correct length, I just take that and match it up on the line here with my masking tape mark. So if I then place the veneer on the blank, I get a stopping point on the other end. I take my needle point and I just do a little mark just at the end so I see exactly, okay, this is where the other part of the masking tape has to go. Now the result of this is going to be, I'm going to get the left and the right circumference of the blank, which will then in turn be transferred over to the Microflex abalone shell veneer, which in turn will give me the right angle to cut the veneer in the right angle following the tapper of the blank, or taper, or however you pronounce that. Too much German in me still. Okay, what I do then is I mark myself a line with my gauge, preferably like in the middle of you know, that you get your nice 180 degrees. I'll place that here, hold it nice and tight, as good as possible. What you can do too, if you wish, you can take a piece of tape, adhere it here. That's the one side for the 180 degrees. You can take it here, and then you can middle that out so you get your, you know, you get your nice position on it. Once you have that, all you do is just hold it, take your needle point, go along once, go along twice, make sure the mark is there. It's very, very hard to see. It's really just minimal. I don't want to, obviously I don't want to scratch or hurt the blank in terms of that I scratch it so much that it's going to affect the performance of the blank or could damage the blank. So you got to be careful with that. It's really just merely to mark where you will be placing your Microflex shell veneer. You then take a simple razor blade. You can take an X-Acto knife, which I also have here to cut. So either way you do it is up to you. Just cut very carefully on the exact line that you marked before. Cut your masking tape so you can then peel it off, and that's the way you can apply it then over to your Microflex. What I like to do is, just in case, I mean, it might be a little bit overkill, but I like to do that. I'll go here, I'll put an L on it, I'll put an R on it, I am basically marking my left and right circumference, and I like to take a little arrow on it so I know that's the inner side. That's the inner side. A little bit of overkill, but a little bit more safety on that. You won't regret it, because this shell veneer, when you apply it, it is very brittle. You have to be very careful when you're applying it that it doesn't crack right away too much. And you just take your circumference here that you had. I just want to, before I forget it, mark my point where it's going to go on again. So I have my starting point. I actually only need a starting point because the end point is given. You already have the length of it. So I know that this is the left side of my shell veneer. So when I take my shell veneer then and I find my 90-degree angle, the way I'm going to wrap it around, I have to make sure that I have the straight 90-degree side. Then it's actually pretty easy to apply. With putting a shell veneer down, what I like to do in this case, it's fairly simple. I'll just go take my veneer and I'll take my left circumference, put it on my gauge, match it up with the bottom of the gauge, because I know it's a straight cut. The bottom of the gauge is straight, so this will work. Place it on nicely, and there you go. Starting point number 1. Now we're going to get the right side. And make sure you cut all the way through. Don't do it like I just did. Make sure you cut all the way through. Okay, now this is the right side. It's on the right inner side. Don't take the outer side. That circumference is half an inch off here. You would have wrong measurements. You don't want to do that. So what we're going to do now is, we have the beginning, we have the end, we're lining it up, we're taking our right side, marking that in. So you see exactly here I have my exact circumference of the blank. And what I do now is I take another straight object, like a ruler, and I'll take that, place it from line to line, corner to corner, make sure my abalone veneer is aligned, place that right on top of it, just like that. And what I will do now is I will take a marker, and I will then go ahead and mark the line that will give me my cutting point for my circumference.